Is it the best Hammer flick ever? No, but we're going to look at it anyway. Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1973 to check out The Satanic Rights of Dracula, sometimes known as Count Dracula and his Vampire Bride, but whatever, that's the American release, and we'll touch more on that later. But before we dig into this gem anymore, before we look at it any further, once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
It's happening right now in London. New York could be next. Or Paris, or Rome, or Tokyo. It's happening right now to this girl. Perhaps it's your turn next.
We are not dealing with ordinary criminals. The real force is more sinister, more obscene than any monstrosity you can think of. Lord of corruption, master of the undead. Count Dracula.
Nothing is too vile. Nothing is too dreadful. You need to know the terror, the horror.
Is that what you want, Count Dracula? A last blaze of utter horror and violence? Ghastly annihilation of an entire planet? Is this your own death wish?
I call upon you to witness my supreme triumph.
Count Dracula! 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 Revenge has spread over centuries and has just begun!
Okay, this motion picture was directed by Alan Gibson. Mostly TV stuff, but maybe some things you remember, maybe not. Anyway, he did little things like the Tales of the Unexpected, the Charmer, and Village Hall, and the Capone Investment, and Thriller, and Dangerous Knowledge, and Crown Court, and The Adventures of Black Beauty, Theater 625, Boy Meets Girl, Journey to the Unknown. So, you know, if you're from that side of the pond, you might remember some of this stuff. If you're not, probably not so much. Now, starring as Count Dracula, or Denham, whatever you want to call it, the legendary Christopher Lee. Let's run the numbers. Of course, he has been in things like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars Episodes 2 and 3, and The Wicker Man, 1941, Airport 77, if everybody remembers that, and The Devil, A Daughter, The Man with the Golden Gun, The Three Musketeers, The Creep of Flesh, Circle of Iron, which I reviewed and you know I love, and Horror Express, and The Skull, and countless Dracula movies. So it is what it is. Let's keep moving. Playing Van Helsing. Who the hell else? Peter Cushing. Let's go. We're talking he was in Star Wars A New Hope. He was in Horror Express, The Hound of the Baskervilles, The Curse of Frankenstein, At the Earth's Core, Shockwaves, The Beast Must Die, Twins of Evil, The Vampire Lovers, Island of Terror, The Gorgon, and he played Van Helsing, I can't tell you how many other times. I mean, he's Van Helsing, simply put. Playing Inspector Murray, Michael Coles. Let's go. He's been in little things like Doctor Who and the Daleks and Dracula AD 1972, which is the precursor to this flick, and Never Mention Murder and Private Potter and TV stuff, Ghost Squad, Love Story, No Hiding Place, Trial, Armchair Theater, The Pathfinders, Horse in the House. He even popped up in General Hospital, memory serves. So, been out there, been around. Playing Peter Torrence, William Franklyn. Let's go. A lot of TV work. We're talking about he has been in things like the Stream Video Company and Paradise Island and the New Avengers and the Courtroom and Doctors and No Hiding Place and Dick and the Duchess and the New Adventures of Charlie Chan and Johnny You're Wanted and a bunch of other little things. So basically a lot of TV work over on that side of the pond, and you might know him from that. Who knows? Playing Colonel Mathews, Richard Vernon. Let's take a look at this. We're talking about he's been in little teeny things like A Hard Day's Night. Come on. The Pink Panther Strikes Again. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Goldfinger. Evil Under the Sun. Oh Heavenly Dog. The Human Factor in TV. Like The Fellows and UFO and Persuasion and Harriet's Back in Town. So, been out there and been around. Playing Jessica, Joanna Lumley. Oh, come on, I know you ab-fab people are out there, but we'll get to that. We're talking about she has been in little things like The Wolf of Wall Street, and Shirley Valentine, and tons of TV. Mistress, Clatterfull, Class Act, Sapphire, The New Avengers, I think it was Sapphire and Steel now, memory serves, and Coronation Street, and Up the Workers, and Lovejoy, and of course, yes, as I alluded to, it was absolutely fabulous. You're going to remember from that, probably the most. It is what it is, but she was out, about, around, been in a lot of things. Of course, there's other people in this motion picture. I'm not going to go through them all, but there's a lot of little faces you'll recognize from movies here and movies there. Keep your eyes out. You'll see them. Big parts, little parts. It is what it is. It'd be kind of fun just spotting them. Hey. Okay, everybody, I'm going to try to do this in 90 seconds or less. So I can keep it short, keep it fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving so we can get to where we'd much rather be. The summation. You got this motion picture, it starts out, you see this satanic ritual going on with these 4 guys in a room and this woman, and there's a naked chick laying on an altar, and there's a rooster, and whatever, there's blood, blah, 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 satanic situation, whatever, who cares? And it's taking place, but you find out they're not really kind of killing the girl, they're just, well, they are killing her, but you find out that she can't die because she's given her soul to Satan, and that promotes eternal life. While this is going on, there's another guy tied to a bed, who escapes, by the way. He's been held here. You can tell he's been beat up and tortured and all this other kind of stuff. And he jet rockets out the place. Well, he gets picked up by his people after he escapes, where he tells them who's there, who's doing this, who's doing that, blah, blah, blah. You find out that the 4 guys in that room are very, very, very important people. We're talking scientists and bigwigs in government and all that. And you're like, why are these 4 old dudes hanging out watching people being sacrificed with bloody roosters and shit? Who knows? Who cares? But it does paint a strange picture. So they bring in Inspector Murray to try to find out the bottom of this, to get to what's going on. And he says, well, I know this guy. His name is Van Helsing. He's really good at this kind of shit. Let's bring him in. Well, Van Helsing recognizes one of the guys. He says, hey, I know you. I'm going to go talk to him and see what the situation is. He does. He finds out his friend has completely lost his goddamn mind, and he's working on a super virus, basically an amped up version of the plague, that can jump from body to body with the slightest touch, and literally will kill you within probably 10 minutes. It just turns you into a big boil and a wart and whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So, as he's talking to his friend about this and he finds out the truth, well, these guys come in, they kill his friend, they shoot Van Helsing in the head, who doesn't die, and they don't kill him, but loophole, whatever, call it what you will. The story continues. Finally, Van Helsing comes to the conclusion, I know what's going on. You see, Dracula is behind it all. And Dracula is convinced these 4 old guys they need to make this super virus so that they can basically blackmail the world into giving them all the money and power imaginable. And so they can strike order through the planet. But really, what Dracula wants, what he wants, is to sit there and to kill the entire planet, to wipe out all of humanity, because he's pissed, he's angry, he's sick of it all. He wants to die, he wants everybody to go with him. It's just the way it is. Will he pull it off? Will he be successful? Is it going to be a good movie? Doesn't really make a difference. We're going to get to that in a second, so let's keep on moving. Okay, everybody, does the Satanic Rights of Dracula work? Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a fun little good flick. Is it the best example of a Van Helsing Dracula / Christopher Lee Peter Cushing movie that they ever made together? No, but it's definitely worth a look. Before we get into any more, before we look at all the reasons why, let's do the big three and you know what they are. First, the directing. The directing, it's solid, okay, all right. It's not spectacular. It's not amazing. Some ways you can say, hey, this guy, I see he came from a TV background, but it's decent nonetheless. There's parts of it that are very, very, very stylized to its point in time, and I'll get into that in a minute, but it's adequate. The writing's actually not bad. The writing's actually fairly solid for this kind of motion picture. Again, this kind of motion picture, Dracula taking over the world, I mean, you know, we're not talking fucking apocalypse now. We're talking Dracula that's trying to take over the world. So, it is what it is, but for that kind of a motion picture, the writing's solid, no complaints. And the acting really is probably where this motion picture shines the most. Peter Cushing delivers in everything he's in. I don't care if it's a big movie, or a small movie, or no matter what it is. He gives it his all, whether it's more comedic, whether it's more serious, no matter what. Peter Cushing always takes a movie and makes it more than what it is, because he really gets invested in it and he really cares. And you can see that in his performances. He's one of those kind of guys. Christopher Lee, how many times has he been Dracula? How many times? It doesn't make a difference. He can put it together for this role. I swear to you, in this motion picture, I think he was only on set for like 3 days, because he's very, very, very little in this motion picture. There's not that much of him in this motion picture. Pops up in the beginning for like 2 seconds, and then at the end for a couple of minutes. I think it was in his contract, hey, I'm working for 3 days and I'm out of there, so get your shit together. And the rest of the cast does a solid job. I'm not saying that we're sitting here looking at Academy Award level shit with every actor in this. I mean, some of the girls playing the vampires in the basement were a little bit cheesy. But the rest of the cast, hey, they brought it. Now, what makes this motion picture so fun, and why am I reviewing this one compared to some of the other ones? Well, I like to sometimes look at the underdog in the field. And this is one of those motion pictures, because it came so late in the series, it might not be considered one of the classics, but it's worth checking out. One of the fun things is about this motion picture, obviously, you got Christopher Lee and you got Peter Cushing together. I mean, those guys did like 20-something movies together. I can't even name them all. It's all but ridiculous. And they always had a certain chemistry. They always had a certain vibe. And you can see it here. It works. They were friends in real life, and they worked together great on the screen. So, just for that alone, just for seeing Cushing and Lee together, you got to watch it no matter what. Also, one of the things that's really cool about this movie is it has that 70s vibe. There's parts of it where you're like, I've seen this before. The tone, the vibe, the mood is early 70s. There's even that one scene in here that like popped up in every other motion picture at that time, especially the low budget shit, where they get a guy in the room and they're like, this is the mission, this is the cause. And they're showing him like a slideshow of secret pictures taken, and he's about to go off. I mean, you know, the Enter the Dragon shit that you've seen in like, I can't tell you how many motion pictures, it's actually in here. 110% shot for shot. It's that kind of a thing. So, it has that familiar 70s vibe. And that runs through the motion picture. It's of its time. There's that kind of music that jumps in as they're doing literally either B-roll shots of just the city and the streets, or when they're getting from place to place. You know what I'm talking about? That kind of like Dirty Harry, slight jazz fusion rock music that they would just stick in. That like, you're like, here's a shot of the city. That kind of shit. That kind of thing permeates this motion picture. You got a little bit of a car chase in there with a couple of motorcycles. You have all the typical, stereotypical things of a early 70s drama, horror, shit flick. It is what it is. Plus, you have all the typical Hammer stuff, especially typical as Hammer went on. Let's face reality, folks. Hammer became a little bit more graphic and a little bit more graphic as time went on in their motion picture history. In this movie, it's one of the same. There's going to be some topless girls in it. It is what it is. There's going to be the sacrifice with the blood and all that kind of shit. It is what it is. So if you love Hammer flicks, if you love that kind of vibe and that kind of stuff and that kind of cheese and that little bit of that exploitation, this is one of those movies that you just got to check out because it fits in with that line. And it's a Hammer flick that was totally 70ized. Jesus Christ, is that even a word? I don't know. But it's totally that kind of a thing with that overtone put on it, which kind of makes it cool. Now, other parts of it that might not be the best, well, yeah. I mean, it's not the fastest rolling flick, even though it's relatively a short movie. There's parts of it where you're like, okay. It doesn't roll along at a bad pace. But, you know, a lot of Hammer flicks have a certain pacing to them that you kind of adapt to. This one, it cruises along, but it's a Hammer flick. You know what I mean? So it has that kind of a energy and vibe to it that you kind of get used to. A little bit quicker than maybe some of the older ones, but it has that Hammer pacing. The ending, kind of like, I mean, the ending before the ending, and I'm not going to give away too much, but with the flames and the guy and the virus and everything, that was kind of cool. But then when you see how Dracula goes out, and you know he dies in every goddamn movie, so I'm not telling you anything different. You're kind of like, really? That's as good as it gets? Dracula? Forrest running himself into like a bush? Fucking really? That's what you came up with? It is what it is. Now, this motion picture was basically a sequel to Dracula AD 72, or whatever the hell you want to call it. It might be a little bit better than that one. But it still is what it is. Not great, but not bad. I think it's enjoyable. That kind of shit. Anyway, get out there and watch the Satanic Rights of Dracula. Like I said earlier, in the U.S. version, which I think they chopped out for like 4 minutes of it, it's Dracula, Count Dracula and his vampire bride, or whatever the fuck the thing's name. It doesn't really make a difference. It's the same movie. And what's weird is if you find it out there on YouTube, you'll find either version with either name slapped on it a lot of times. You know what I mean? So whatever one you get is kind of whatever one you're going to get. Still, doesn't really change that much of a difference if you watch either one or the other. Whatever the title is on it, just sit back and enjoy it. You're going to get basically the same experience. Not a bad flick, an enjoyable flick, a flick that sadly has very little Dracula in it. There's a lot going on around Dracula. If you're looking for this just to see a whole lot of Christopher Lee at his ultimate best and stuff, you're really not going to get that. But if you want to see a movie that has him and Peter Cushing in it, with some of that vintage 70s cheese thrown all over it, little bit of exploitation, and a movie shot in the way I like movies, you know, the color palette's rather tame, everything's just a little bit bland, everything's just a little washed, that kind of stuff, then this movie will really deliver for you. Soundtrack can be a little bit hit or miss and a little bit thrown in your face and then pulled back, but it is what it is. Plot holes, yeah. But it is what it is. Sit back, enjoy it, take it in, go for a ride. All right, everybody. Once again, and as always, be good. Stay out of trouble. Take care. Be kind to a stranger. Always be there for a friend. But most of all, above all else, never, oh, and I mean never, take any bullshit from anybody. See you soon.